Great. Well, happy to be here with you. And for the second cohort, as I said to Mikol, this I can't believe like this is so close to the first one, and you guys are in very good hands for this residency. And yeah, so I've been. Do you want me to introduce myself, Mikol, or just go straight in? I don't know.
Yeah. Please introduce yourself. Yeah.
So I have been, well, I come from the more like traditional art market, but always like art and tech side of things, so not the glamorous side of the art market, I would say. But kind of fell into the NFT rabbit hole in 2018 when really nobody cared about that subject, and advised a bunch of NFT like early marketplaces, and then early on this year, had the chance to also advise collectors, so both the supply and the demand side, and I'm doing a lot of evangelism on crypto art and education as well, like teaching at Sotheby's Institute and a few other places. So yeah, so I guess I mean there's a presentation, but again, like as Mikol said, like if you have questions, like put them in the channel, and it's also meant to be useful in the discussion for you. So really, like don't hesitate to interrupt me. And so it's a very broad question, also because each of you probably has a different history with the crypto art and more broadly the NFT market. So like forgive me if I'm stating the obvious, and really trying to cover all bases, and hopefully you can get out of the presentation with a few pointers. But again, if you have specific questions, I'll be happy to go more in that direction. Mikol, I'll share the slide deck in the channel afterwards, so you guys don't worry about screenshotting the slides or whatever you guys do. So I think like I mean, and it's funny because see, I noticed like you had a subject like how does the crypto art market work, and I on purpose put like how does the NFT market work, and it's to give you guys like an approach of like I'm obviously not going to talk about like all the use cases of NFTs, but also to understand where what place the art has in the whole NFT market, because it's sometimes hard to focus, and with all the news and things where we get served every day about NFTs. Yeah, because pretty much like this is still very overwhelming. Every day you have a news on Jay-Z and the Kardashian and Taco Bell who are doing a new like NFT, and a lot of artists I talk to are like, oh my god, I can't focus. I have like or there's like so many news like artists being like, oh, I'm exhibited there and I'm exhibited there. Like it's like, okay, like like take a step back. It's okay like to miss things. Like this is actually good to just focus on a few things and not be too distracted by everything that's happening. Like the earlier you make peace with your FOMO, the better your life is gonna be. So I think this is kind of where I got like, I mean, this data is actually already outdated, but one thing that if you want like an overview of like everything that's happening, like, and by category as well, Non-Fungible is actually a great like data site. They do release quarterly and annual reports, and it's good to like give you like a data-based overview of what's happening, because you hear like, oh, there's a bubble, there's a crash, like back in in March here, like people are like after Beeple, like they're like, oh, it was such a massive bubble, and then there was a crash in April, May. And then when you look at the data, like really it was just a tiny correction, and then overall the market's still absolutely growing. And again, what comes up will come down at one point, but it's just putting things in perspective. Like it's there's a lot of noise about everything, and obviously it's you guys are in the booming market, and even if you look at other reports in terms of how crypto art is doing, even inside the art market. Like this is obviously like the NFT industry, so it has like all the volume of sales, like like collectibles art, gaming, etc. But something to look at is like ArtNet actually is publishing a lot of reports as well, and they actually coined the term for crypto art and NFTs. Like in the art market, they actually now call it ultra contemporary, which I don't know if I like the term or not. I don't know what you think, Nicole, about this nomenclature, but they're definitely reporting on what's happening in NFTs, and also in the art market in the fall. I think NFTs was the fastest growing category in art auctions. So we're definitely still on the you know um, growing side of the market. So, but the thing to know with NFTs is that, like, obviously this is all like the NFT industry, right? Like, so it's everything, and it's like there's like a million project. This was like a few, like even like 4 months ago, and now like I can tell you, like, this would have like this is or like all the projects or like smart contracts that are like linked to NFTs, and it's pretty much like would be like triple or quadruple or like like more than that even now. But like let's remember, like art is only a fraction of all of this, like what's happening in NFTs. So actually that was from the first semester, where art was like 14%, and again like collectibles like CryptoPunk and apes and all these things, it's confusing because now like big auction houses are selling them, but they're still collectibles, right? Like I mean, this is kind of where art is like very much considered like the super rare non-origin. Like art blocks actually is in art as well, even if it's generative. And I believe like the updated number right now is still less than 20% of the whole NFT use cases for art. So that's the good news, like it's like at least you can kind of like abstract like the other use cases for your practice, like really focusing on like what's happening in this category. The bad news is like it's still entirely new, and really nobody's a specialist. Like we're all learning as we go. We were talking last week with Nicole, and it's like even if we know the same people, like we know like we follow the same news, etc. Like there's always like a project that like I'm like, oh, did you hear about that? And Nicole is like, oh no, and did you hear about that? And I'm like, oh no. Like it's absolutely impossible to like follow everything, and really we're all learning as we go. And when I say nobody, it's really nobody. Like even the platforms and like even the art auctions, like they're really like being built right now. So it's good and bad news, right? Like I mean, the good news is that like you're very early and you still can like experiment a ton, but there's also like no standards, so it's overwhelming, and it's a little scary to be honest with you as well, because nothing is set in stone. And to give you a little bit of you know overview on like the art marketplaces that deal with NFT. It's absolutely not meant to be comprehensive, as like I'm sure way more platforms are like that. But something that I really want you to keep in mind as a kind of general idea is that there are platforms that are like really permissionless, meaning that like you, me, my daughter, like anybody can actually create and mint work on these platforms. NFTs actually put that aside, like it's still quite still figuring it out. And then you have the invitation only, right? Like the super rare, I'm sure some of you or maybe all of you have applied to super rare, like same thing non-origin, etc., and they seem a little bit like the the holy grail, like to be accepted on super rare. But let's tap that's like let's keep that thought for later. And then you have like what I call like not curated but commercially curated, because they're like these platforms who work with like very few artists and actually do curate exhibitions. There's also Feral File and a few other. But what I want you really to understand is that first, invitation only doesn't mean curated, right? Like, I mean, this is where there's still like a million artists on Super Rare. I mean, not a million, but like, a lot of artists. And curated really means that like it's organized by theme, it has like a logic or a story behind it. Super Rare, non-origin, like all of these are for profit marketplaces, so they will accept artists that they know will make them money, right? So it is very different. Like invitation only doesn't mean curated. And then like a little bit better are like the ones that like were curated exhibition and so on and so forth, like this like commercially curated ones, but they still have like a commercial purpose and like a for profit aim, so which might be biased for the curation. So my point being, like, this is like there are a lot of options, there are a lot of different way it works, but sometimes it's actually good to like keep all of the importance of these platforms and like being accepted on some like quite like to the right level. It's not like I would never wait like or tell an artist like wait to be on super rare to actually start minting your work. This is absolutely quite silly, to be honest. So as I'm sure you all have been following, there are like slowly but surely there are more and more art players who are getting involved in NFTs. Auction houses obviously were first. I mean, let's don't like Beeple or like the old auction house model. We still have to recognize that like the Beeple sale is what really brought mainstream attention to the art use case of NFTs. And then whatever Christie's does, like Sotheby's then like respond with something and try to be better or the first, and auction houses are like sales machine. Like they do see an opportunity, like they will take it. Like whatever high net worth individual collect, being art, luxury items, fashion items, and now NFTs, like that's good for them. Interestingly, like museums have been part of the discussion early on, and I think the reason why also like museums, most of the time you see them like as like this very slow institutions who take a lot of time to do anything, etc., because there are boards involved and a lot of like hierarchy. But in this case, they were quite part of the discussion early on, also because galleries and other art players really were a little on the back burner and just being like in a wait and see position. Because if you think about it, like galleries are this like intermediary, and like middlemen uh, institutions that like blockchain at first swore to kind of pretty much erase from the ecosystem. So when you have like a new technology and a new like ecosystem that's trying to kill your business, oh, well, you're a little like it's normal to be a little unsure about your position in that market. That said, it's interesting to see like how they've pretty much evolved from that position. I mean, there's like it looks a lot like galleries are like more and more just adding NFTs and as just like another section of their inventory. And obviously you have galleries who were dealing with digital art before NFTs that now have really like commercial uh, vehicle to sell limited edition and unique digital artworks, and that was kind of a logical transition. And Left Gallery, for example, was founded by a software artist called Harm van den Dorpel. Sorry, it's a little bit of a mouthful. Transfer Gallery as well is a digital art gallery based in LA. Beat Art is actually the NFT arm of Beatform Gallery that is based in New York, and so on and so forth. I mean, this is Kate Vass and Breezy Art are like newer galleries that like pretty much boomed with the NFT market. So that was kind of a like logical transition. And then you have like the bigger names who are also kind of testing it. I mean, the study of all the different business models would be actually like an hour long presentation. So if you want to talk more about that, we can do that another time. And then the interesting thing was that there's still the NFT and like crypto ecosystem and platforms and the art platforms. They're kind of two worlds where like trying to understand each other and learn how to work together and benefit from each other. And so you've seen this like early collaborations, like for example, the Beeple sale. The Beeple work was actually minted on Maker's Place, but sold via Christie, right? And then Sotheby's actually partnered with Nifty Gateway to do the pack sale back in April after the Beeple sale, and then can be. And so there's a lot of like, it's a lot of learnings that is happening in via these events and these collaborations, because for example, like these two sales, like the Beeple sale, for example, like it was minted on Maker's Place, but it was sold on Christie's website. So if you're looking at or if you try to find like any detail on the Beeple lot and the Beeple NFT, there is no trace on the blockchain of the transaction, and the $69 million really is only recorded as a social memory that we have and that is listed on Christie's website, but it is absolutely not an on-chain transaction that is like was really part of the like value proposition of the blockchain, like having to like record like all the provenance and the authenticity and like all the chain of events of an NFT. So it's like slowly but surely like both like the NFT marketplaces and the art marketplaces are learning from their mistakes. I mean, I think that's where like the fact that there's no standard or like rules on what to save on chain, what to do on the blockchain, what to do on the auction house website. This is still being figured out. And when you think about it, like when the way an auction works on Sotheby's and Christie's, for example, like they charge a lot of fees. For example, when you're a buyer of an NFT on Sotheby's or Christie's, you still have to pay a 20 to 25% buyer's premium to the auction house, which is like a fee that normally covers like the logistics and like cost of like marketing and logistics and just operation for the auction house, which, if you ask me, like is still quite a little antiquated when you can actually buy a lot of NFTs now, like on all the NFT platforms, like without like these high fees. I mean, the platforms like OpenSea or SuperRare like still charge like 2%, but it's not 25%, right? So we'll see. I mean, this is still like very interesting, I would say, to like follow the evolution, like auction by auction or event by event. And the last one that you might have seen, and Vertical Crypto Art has actually works for sale at auction at Sotheby's, is that Sotheby's actually developed their own NFT marketplace, and it's metaverse.sotheby's.com, where they're really focusing on selling NFTs. So, and it's great. There are a lot of wait, sorry, I just wanted to show you. Sorry, one second. Just wanted to show you. But no, but I don't have it. I had the slide on here. Like so Sotheby's Metaverse, for example, is so they Sotheby's actually partnered with a marketing agency called Serotonin. I could not make that up, but this is an NFT marketing agency. And the reason why, like at first, like they did the pack sale on Nifty Gateway and partnered with existing NFT marketplaces was a little bit of the temporary solution until they were able to develop their own NFT marketplace. So there are things that are quite great. Like, for example, you can see who bid on the lot, for how much money, and you can see this way like things that you were never able to see on a traditional auction. Meaning that like you can see like if there's a winning, if there's a bidding war, how many people are actually interested in the lot. Like this is actually very valuable information, both for the sellers and for the buyers. There's also like a new way, and I don't know if you can see, like I mean, I'm sure you can go and check it out, but there's kind of a new way that they're like showing artwork details. So you have like the pictures, and then in like a little carousel of screens, you can see the details and then the bids on the lot. So this is quite like great, like new or like innovations, and but still we still have to, there's a lot of missing information. It's like, is it really it's probably not very decentralized, and there's still like the buyer's premium of 25%. Like there's still, here we don't know if it's like in ETH, the payment, or in US dollars, etc., etc. Nicole, I would be interested to know what you think about the new metaverse platform.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's cool.
Yeah, no, I mean,
It's kind of to be honest, it was like I didn't know they were doing it. I was like completely unexpected, so I had no idea, as everything with working with them. But yeah, it's definitely closer to what the NFT ecosystem is looking to, like it's used to, right? Like, you're looking at the bid, especially the bidding part, because I think like something that um very native to like NFTs and crypto art is that bidding mechanisms, right? Where you can see like who is bidding before you, because essentially, let's be honest, like collectors like to show and flex the fact that they are outbidding somebody else, right? So
yeah,
they want to be able to see who they're outbidding and by how much. Like that's, it's almost like it's very native to the space. Like if you think about the cold auction method, like it all started kind of like, from there. So I think they tried to especially listen to more of the collector side feedback that they got. And I do like that, there's a tiny bit of curatorial side where you can like actually read about the artwork, which I think is not very present in, to be honest, any of the marketplaces. So yeah, but again, like it's Sotheby's, it's an auction house. They try to make money and they take a big buyer's percentage. Everything you said is absolutely right, and they are here to make money. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it is what it is.
So this is like, yeah, to take with a grain of salt, but
Yeah,
it's interesting, and to be honest, to me, the important part is and that's my idealistic side, but you know, if it, like for as Mikkel and I said, like this is like, yeah, like at the bottom line is like auction houses are there to like make profit, right? Like they're here to make money, and this is really like from the NFT and the crypto art world that like we have this responsibility of uh, really keeping them on track, right? Because there's I mean, two things can happen. It's like either we're gonna just have like the crypto art market, like, or like no, the traditional art market being put on blockchain and just like helping them make more money, but with the same rules as we had before in the art market. Or this is a time when we can actually uh, like make a difference and change some of the rules that are not working in the art market. You know, for example, like Sotheby's, and like on the secondary sales, there is still no royalties like paid to the artist. So this is something like, and at any level, you know, like that, like we have to keep them accountable for, because that's not them that are going who are gonna you know, make it better for the creators, like even for the collectors, to be honest with you. So so I think this is like, this responsibility is important for you as an artist to like choose where you mint your work, and again, I'm not saying like you should not sell anything at, like, if Sotheby's approach you, like, no, absolutely, like, you know, but still being critical of the marketplaces, and being aware of what's happening in the back end, not just, you know, following blindly. So as I said before, like, so invitation only really doesn't mean curated, and I'm sure this is something that you're gonna see all through the residency, and I know Mikol is a great curator and a great you know, proponent of that. So but just to, you know, remind yourself that like this absolutely is not the same. And then also that like the marketplaces cannot do much for you in terms of marketing. You know, like this is where there's of course like what is featured on OpenSea homepage is like then sells like right away. I mean, they even had like insider trading problems with that recently, where their chief product officer knew what was gonna appear on the homepage and actually was buying these works before that happened and like reselling them just after they were featured for a lot of money. So but that happens with like very few projects, right? Like, I mean, homepages and like even their blog articles, like all of that is very limited. Like very few artists are actually featured. So it is still on you to really you know, promote and like tell people about your work. And I think this is uh, you know, like a big advantage of the blockchain was really give power and value back to the creators. And yes, financially, like this is the case, right? Like as we compared like the more traditional auction houses to like NFT marketplaces, now you know, anybody can pretty much like create their works on these marketplaces. Like they can have like artists can have access to secondary sales royalties, etc., etc. But that also means that you know, with this power come great responsibility, because as fewer intermediaries like the galleries or like representatives of the artist are available, then as an artist, you do have to do a lot by yourself, like being your chief technology officer to know how and where to mint, your chief marketing officer to know how to tell the story of your work, your chief like social media advisor, and your community manager. I mean, it is a lot. So I think this is like also overwhelming. And if it's not, it's great. But like for a lot of people, this is overwhelming because there's so much things that now you're pretty much have to do yourself. And yeah, so that was my point. Sorry, I'm like telling you things in not the right order of my slides. So even if we're like we made great progress slowly but surely, as Mikol said, like for example on the Sotheby's sales there is much more details published about the artworks, about the artists, the stories around it, the context. Like the effort is still very much so on the artist. So I did want to show you a few things, and it's already like sort of history, because this is like that actually was from the first Sotheby's digitally native sale that was back in May, I believe. And that they're doing now like the second digitally native sale right now, like the collector's edition as they call it. But one thing I wanted to show you is that like back in May, PAC had an amazing like lot for sale at this Sotheby's auction. And then the only information that was available on Sotheby's website was Fade is a living timepiece about digital permanence and identity. All right. Well, to me, that doesn't really mean anything, right? Like, I'm going to say, okay, this is sort of interesting, but like a little cryptic. And I know it's PAC, but it's not much details. And then PAC, who was like already like very famous, like they had to pretty much do all the marketing and the explanation on their Twitter, like where it was like explaining that actually Fade had like a lot of like different aspects to it, that like it actually like resets itself like whenever like it changes collectors, like it will like actually die like in 1 year, like it gets reset when it's transferred, etc., etc. There were a few tweets, like I mean not just this one, but that I had to explain like how it works and get people excited about it. I mean I know it's packed, but it's also like great to know like more about the artwork. And I don't know if you remember like the first like punks that were sold by Christie's. It was very interesting, like the way it happened. I mean, this is Noah Davis, was like a big like it was really the only champion at the time at that was back in May at Christie's, and they were selling like the 9 punks as one lot. And the way they did the marketing, like showing you like really that they really don't know did not know much at that time, and maybe know a little bit more now, but not much, is that what they did was to print each of the punk on little tiles, which are like really reminding, I mean, similar to this like what's his name, Space Invader, who does like these tiles in like big cities, and hid them in the galleries. And that would have been amazing as an additional marketing, like guerrilla marketing approach, except this was the only way they actually like displayed the punk. Like they were not even displayed on like screens or like within like the galleries. They were just hidden here and there. And then they printed this like piece of paper, like literally on the office printer, like with very bad like quality like color, where like you could just like check the punks, like if you found them in the galleries. And it's like, even my kids would not like to play. It's a kind of a dumb game, right? Like, I mean, who's gonna actually cross them? Anyway, all of that to say is that like if you look for like G Money and how Christie's fucked up the punks auction, this was very very contentious. Like, I mean, this is like really Christie's did not do anything, did not know what to say about the punks, and did not really do a great job at marketing, which is really, when you think about it, the only reason you go to an auction house like to pay these premiums. This is like because they will do the marketing, they will do the work, they will find the buyers, etc., etc. But as I said, like they don't really know what they're doing. And the G Money, it's like an old one, but it's a really good one. So I encourage you to have a look at this one. So we talked about the South Metaverse. Obviously, we came a long way, and it really seems like, I mean, we'll see what Christie's is actually doing, but this is like where Sotheby's seems very much to take some, advance in, or like a little bit taking the lead in terms of what they're doing, and but again, like to be continued. So one thing I wanted to, it's always the question I get asked, like it's like, who are the collectors? And before I go through like a few examples of collector types, I think it's always good to keep in mind as an artist, like who you're talking to. I think what we've seen, and I should really put like that on that slide, is that the early collectors of any new art movement, well, there's the artist. And when you even think about the Impressionists, right? Like, I mean, they were refused at all the salons, like not having access to any like collectors or any like critics, etc., etc. But they were supporting each other by like collecting each other's work. And like, you've seen like on or like have a look at the trades, the, how is it called, like on Heketnank, Mikol, like the like trading like artwork, one artwork for another artwork, but
Object
it's,
for object?
I'm sorry.
Oh, object for object, or what are you?
Yeah, I
Oh,
think so. Yeah, that was the
yeah.
object for object, like trade or switch. Like I can't I can't find my word, but yeah. So it's really like just supporting each other, and if you look at like the collection of like early artists like Coldi or Mattia Cutini, like you will see that they collect a lot of each other's work, and vice versa, right? Like so even now, like this is very important that like this support system, if I can call it that, is really what you see at every new movement, and this is quite the same with NFTs. And interestingly, like, I mean, crypto art started with crypto, right? I mean, this is the first word in the name. This is like all blockchain related. So not surprisingly, like the first collectors were crypto or like cryptocurrency holders who actually very basically like wanted to diversify their holdings in crypto. And in March, if you remember, it was really at the time when like when Bitcoin prices really went up, and this is kind of when like this man is Metakovan, and this is when like he was put on the radar as like the first big collector after the Beeple sale, but really he was also diversifying his portfolio. Like if you read like the stories about the Beeple sale, like there's a lot of people say that like it was also to he did purchase Beeple work for business reasons, to have access to more investors for his own ventures, and to also put like he's from actually he's from South India, and he lives in Singapore, I believe. But one of his goals was also to show that like there is diversity in not only like white male investors in crypto. So the art at this point like seems a little bit like a secondary thought, not like a true passion. But that's my take on it. Like you might have yours. And I don't know if you're familiar with Whale Shark Pro, but Whale Shark also, I mean, he's actually like, it's a pseudonym, like we don't know who he is. But he assembled like I don't remember how many there are, but like I think it's like over 30,000 NFTs. And then like really build a community around what he calls like the vault collection of NFTs. But and when you hear him speak, like originally it was all about value of the collections and ROI and increase in value and investment and blah blah blah. The interesting thing now, like, is that very recently, like a few weeks ago, he announced that he actually hired a curator for his NFT collection, and she's it's Eleonora Brizzi, who's actually been working with Hackatao for a very long time, and she's a gallerist as well. Like, I mean, she represents some crypto artists, and now it seems that like he's really trying to treat the collection with a more like curated eye, and it's a great sign, like it's a great sign that it's not just the financial value that is going to be really his concern. I mean, it's still very much like 90% of his concern, but it's great that it's diversifying towards more curated approach. And someone that you might hear from who has this curated approach of his collection is Colborne. I don't know if he's doing a class or if he's part of the mentors, Nicole.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the museum, Colburn and Shivani are going to be doing a class the second week of November, so in 2 weeks.
Super. Ooh, I'm gonna be a fly on the wall if I can on that on that one. So Colborne founded like MoCA, which is the Museum of Crypto Art, and the what he calls the Genesis collection is actually 200 NFTs of 200 different artists. This collection, he said that like will never be sold, and that will be like very much so of a snapshot of crypto art history, and that like this is like he's if you follow him on Twitter, like he highlights the stories about the works and really like pushes the artist and has this very curated approach, and now I mean, he'll tell you more about his collection and the future of the collection, but he's still continuing to collect, but in a bit more decentralized way. So I'm not going to ruin the surprise. He's going to tell you all about it. And then you have like again, like these are examples. Like this is not like, oh, they're all collectors all like that, right? Like, I mean, this is absolutely not the case. But I think it's good to keep in mind like some of the in marketing terms, these are like user personas for collectors that like you keep in mind when you think about like the audience. And again, like you don't have to think about the audience, but it's good to know. The one on top of the page, I am sure you've seen like this Cosimo de Medici, like taking the name of one of the first art patron, was said to be and confirmed that it is Snoop Dogg, the rapper, who actually started his collection with like a record purchase for an X copy. I don't actually remember like how much, but wasn't it like 2,000 ETH for that? And his like Twitter banner is actually like portraits of the Medici family, and one is replaced with the X copy he purchased. So very much so, like putting himself in the shoes of a great art patron. I mean, there's a lot of ego and testosterone at this point, if you ask me, but an interesting positioning. Like, I mean, Snoop Dogg has never, collected like any other art, and a lot of people are like now interested in it. I mean, I'm passing on like, what you hear of like Paris Hilton and Reese Witherspoon actually as well, who's now into NFTs, etc., etc. But anyway, so these are like pretty much, if you look at them, like they're not at all people who collected art before as like contemporary art collectors, or like not like very much so like crypto native. However, now we do see more exhibitions as a, and we've seen like the Sotheby's platform, etc. Galleries also like trying to reach out to more traditional collectors. And one interesting person to follow as a bridge between the crypto world and the art world is this man called Kenny Schachter. And Kenny Schachter like actually writes very interesting articles about NFTs in ArtNet News that are quite controversial and quite fun to read, to be honest. And Kenny has been like an art critic, an art curator, and an artist himself for a very, very long time. I think he's like, like 32 years in like what he was saying, like in an article, like he's been in the art market for 32 years. And at first, it was like not really obvious if he was mocking the crypto art market, or if he was like really bullish about it. And he released this PFP, like profile picture project, that is like the crypto mutts, were absolutely atrocious, but actually also adorable, because as an artist, he like actually admits that he has no idea what he's doing, but he like really wants to experiment. And a lot of people from the traditional art market, a few people that I know from like, like magazines or galleries, actually purchased their first NFT from the crypto mutts, because he's a trusted figure in the art market, and he's actually don't have a speculative or like a, like a monetary agenda to do that. So it's coming, like more collectors are like very much taking a leap of faith and like experimenting with NFTs. In my art advisory practice, I do advise collectors who are like some of them are have been contemporary art collectors, but they're very they have an interest, most of them, on about crypto, or have invested a bit of Bitcoin, but it's not their job. And even if they know a little bit of crypto and they know the traditional art market, they're very much at loss when it comes to the NFT marketplaces, and like how to identify artists or works. Like, they might not even know about like Tezos and Hicket Nunk. Like, it's still very much a niche of a niche of a niche. And so it's been like very interesting to see kind of vocations, like, and collectors like being like born with or getting excited about meeting artists, about like something new. And Elsie at the bottom here is one of the female collectors that we actually advise, and was not like an art collector before, but like was actually like played the game of crypto. So she's using a pseudonym, like, and like a little like crypto punk-ish portrait. She's been like really supporting like new artists, and really enjoying like meeting new artists, like meeting new art, and so on. So that was pretty fascinating to follow. And now she has a collection called the Editorial Collection, where we help her like document everything and like highlight the artists, and really act as an art patron, which is really exciting to see. All right, one tiny note here. This is often like something like as a collector that I get the question, but like, you know, you as artists as well, like it's like, how can you view the NFTs like in real life? Well, right now there's like a few, you know, ways. I'm sure you guys might know better ways than I do actually. So if you know other ways, please let me know. But what people do most of the time is use an aggregator like OpenSea more than Rarible, to be honest. There are more and more like showcase site like Showtime or Lazy.com, or for LC, for example, for the editorial collection, we did like create an entire website for the collection on Squarespace, you know, nothing fancy or very complicated. And then more and more digital screens are actually now working with like you can, you know, link your wallet, but it's still very like, you know, very early for this Black Dove as well. There's a few, but this is very much only starting. So I, you know, I mean, we're reaching out the hour, so Miko, I know you have to go, but before I go into a little bit more of just like as an artist, like, you know, things to keep an eye out for. Just wanted to see if there were any questions, um, or you know, if I totally missed on like some points that you wanted me to cover, just to make a check.
I think Natalie was saying, I think when you talked about in-depth marketplaces, that she would love to learn more. I don't know if you're going to cover it next, but if not, then maybe we can, I don't know if you want to like.
Yeah, so you mean like the
how...
differences between the marketplaces?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me go back here. So I mean, it's it's a broad subject, right? Like, I mean, if you try to keep an eye out on like the new marketplaces, like, I mean, new ones come out every day. One thing we're actually trying to release soon in a better format is some like resources about the uh, like more marketplaces. So I'll do uh, I'll I'll share with you, like, it's in the last slide. It's like it's something we had put together, but we need to update it quite a lot. But we did like start, like, it was earlier this year, like when even like when the craziness was not like um at the point that it is today, to keep an eye on like the NFT marketplaces. And oh my god, like this is like, you know, that's like maybe a hundreds of like everything that does exist now, right? So I think this is like very, very tricky subject to really keep an eye on. What I would like to say about like the NFT marketplaces is that it's very, you know, they all said like, oh, we're very transparent, and this is true, like in terms of transactions and transaction history and who is the owner, like, etc., etc. Like they've done a great job, like especially OpenSea. I mean, this is no secret, they have the most funding, you know, like they're supported by Anderson Horowitz, and who invested like over $26 million, or yeah, I don't even remember how much, but they're really always coming out with like new ways to see like the history, to filter, etc., etc. So this is really something that they've managed to do. But in terms of like everything else, like they're pretty hard to like any other information is hard to get, like on the fees, on the you know, smart contracts that they're using, like royalties, etc., etc. This is very opaque, and this is something hopefully that can get better. And again, they have not really any incentive to like really be super open, and like and it's not easy to find information about their fee structure, like how royalties work. And some things that is actually tricky is the fact that OpenSea is an aggregator. So technically, if you go on OpenSea, you can see all the NFTs that you own or that are available, even on super rare, on origin, on marketplace, on foundation, etc., etc. You can see everything on OpenSea. The problem is that a lot of people and a lot of collectors have end up using only OpenSea to actually bid on NFTs, because it's just easier than going to all of these different marketplaces. The problem is that sometimes the royalties don't cross over marketplaces. So if you purchase something on super rare and then resell it on OpenSea, the artist doesn't get the royalty. But it's not 100% of the time. For example, and I don't even know if it's still the case because there's really no public information about it. But Foundation doesn't have a secondary market on their platform, so they actually made sure with OpenSea that the works that are resold on OpenSea from Foundation actually do act and do pay the royalties to the artist. So it's very tricky to know, and the problem is that most of the time it's people and artists who mint on these platforms that by doing find out about these problems. So there's really no great way right now to know about the details. I mean, I would it's something we're working on, just having more details about each of these platforms, but more technical details, not just oh, OpenSea is great for X, Y, and Z, and and just really going to the bottom of it, which any help helps really on this matter. So again, I think a lot of these platforms are still on the art platforms are still on Ethereum. This is where a lot of people have looked, when the problem of the environmental impact and gas fees were very high. They were attempts to mint and create platforms on other more sustainable blockchains. So hence the Hiketnunk platform on Tezos, where and I don't know if Mikol has told you about the how this happened, pretty much how Hiketnunk happened, but it's very interesting because this is where artists have actually tried to go away from the big market pressure and the flipping of their artworks, etc., and kind of find a place that was a little bit back in the days in 2018 on Ethereum, to really experiment and have fun with the art and not have to worry about really putting the right price at the right moment, and etc., etc. So a lot of great artists actually, and new artists, but also great names already went onto Hiketnunk. And then when you're a collector of one of these artists who switch platform, well, you really don't care about the platform, or if you need to get Tezos coins, and I'm based in New York, you can't even get Tezos coins in New York. It's on no exchange you can actually get them in New York, which is there are ways around, but it's still another barrier to entry. So then the collectors followed, and then other platforms decided on Tezos to build other marketplaces, and it's or other businesses, which is quite a great story, to be honest, for the power of the artists to push decisions. But a lot of platforms still decide, art platforms selling NFTs still decide on Ethereum, because The reason being that it's already hard enough to explain how to get a MetaMask account and how to get like Ether, like via Coinbase, blah blah blah, to an art crowd who is not very tech savvy. Let alone like if you have to explain that mainstream, I mean that you know how it works, and then say like, oh, but don't do that on Ethereum, like do slightly differently and get other coins and get other things to have access to Hiketnank and so on and so forth. So this is a trade-off, and this is kind of where you have to see like who your audience is to really decide on your home, like in quotes, like as a which marketplace you decide to mint on. Otherwise, like so I would say like Zora is also very interesting in terms of protocol. Like there's a lot of if you're a little bit more tech savvy and want to go a little deeper into your own smart contract and your own marketplace, like Zora is actually doing a lot of work on that. Rarible honestly has had like a lot of uh, issues of like wash trading and people who are like inflating prices and fakes and I mean obviously OpenSea as well has a you have to be very careful of fake projects, but Rarible is a little struggling at the moment, so I would be very careful. And then and then I mean a lot of artists have actually uh even great artists like you have like what's his name, Kevin Abash. Kevin Abash like released all his projects on OpenSea, like all of them. Like he doesn't care to like be accepted, or like he didn't wait to be accepted on Super Rare or like another platform. Like he really like just used OpenSea as like as his like pretty much his collection page. And then one thing that as an artist that like that have a look at like how he does it, but like he has all the background and the explanation of the projects that he does on his website. It's all crazy, but everything he explains is on his website. And then like when you want to get the works, you just like go to OpenSea to bid on the works. So this is something that it's another subject as well, but this is mostly like the marketing uh, of your NFTs. Like there's a lot that is happening outside of the platforms. I mean, let's face it, like the platforms are very limited. I mean, when you click on one work, you can barely have more than a text only description, and that is like tiny. Like this is really small. So I think this is like where making an informed decisions of the chain, of the platform, but really doing your research, like just making sure that you're okay with the way like the smart contract works, and you know what's happening with the royalties, etc. So I think this is really where you need to do the research. And to be honest, like Superhair like has done a lot like recently and released of like their governance token, and they have like a pretty long list of like people applying to this platform. But they're pretty much taking the lead on like one-on-one unique artworks. Like you cannot do limited editions. I mean, they just released a way to do series, but really originally their main strength is that you can only mint unique works, which means that like artists have also used Super Rare for their like most expensive works, and maybe used another platform like OpenSea or like another one to mint like editions or lower priced artworks. So that brings me to something else for the marketplaces that is important to know. It's like you can actually experiment on different platforms. Again, it's all about finding the home that suits you and that suits your work. So it's like we're gonna see way more marketplaces, and this is kind of the trend that we see already of platforms that are for a specific category. So if you're a photographer, you're gonna go like to this site, and if you're a fashion brand, you're gonna go to that site, etc., etc. Because when you're an artist, you don't necessarily want to be listed next to all the collectibles, or when you're a fashion brand, you don't really want to be listed next to Taco Bell and other other brands. So this is something that really will be a personal decision. Nifty Gateway, I'm not going to talk too much about Nifty Gateway. I mean, Nifty Gateway is now like very focused on like really, really famous and pop culture like names. But it's also a very centralized platform. Like this is another thing to pay attention to, is like where are the NFT like files like stored? Like how does it work? Like Nifty Gateway is owned by Gemini, which is a crypto exchange and a crypto like trading platform. So they have like a double agenda, right? Like, I mean, for example, if you sell works on Nifty Gateway, you can't really get the money out. You do have to the best way that they encourage you to do is to get the money out onto a Gemini account, etc., etc. So it's a little it's a little tough to actually to actually believe in what they're doing, to be honest. But I'm just checking now that Mikol is done. I'm checking the channel as well, if you have questions, but feel free to also unmute yourself. So there's a lot, there's really a lot of things we could say about the marketplaces. Like, I don't know if you have specific questions, or I mean, I'm happy to
Fanny, it's Pierre. I want to thank you for this awesome presentation. That was really wonderful. I learned a lot. I have a question for you.
yeah.
Uh, as you know, the average prices on HIC at Nung are much lower than the average prices in Ethereum on OpenSea or other platforms. Do you think that in the future the average prices on Tezos and Ethereum will get closer, or do you believe that it will remain like that for the foreseeable future?
The $1 billion question. I wish I knew, Pierre. One thing I would say is that it's definitely a question I've heard before, because it's something that people fear about like minting on Hiketnunk, is that they will sell for less than other platforms. So you're not the first one to actually wonder about that. I think there's a trade-off, right? Like, I mean, yes, if you are like on an Ethereum-based marketplace, you can actually expect higher prices. Again, if you sell, right? Like, I mean, this is also like on you to identify your audience, like your collectors. And I know at first it's really hard, right? You're like, oh, I don't know, like I am starting, and it's probably at like today, like, yes, this is like actually like much higher prices on Ethereum, but it's also a much more shaky and unstable market. I think this is also where you might have to try. I think there's the one thing that I really advise artists to do is not to, you have to find the right home for your work, but you also are allowed to make mistakes and try platforms and decide this is not for you, and even if you want to try OpenSea to see like if you have more people who will collect your work there and than on Hiketnunk. The important thing, if you are doing different platforms and different blockchains, is to be clear about like your strategy, so that people are not confused about, you know, seeing some of your work on Hiketnunk and some of your work on OpenSea or Foundation, for example. One thing that like there was this what's his name? I think it's Robert Sabet. It's not. There was this problem early on with one of the NFT artists who, Sabet. He's actually a French artist. So the things that happened with him, I'm going to put the link here. Obviously, you're not going to see anything about like the problems that happened, but the problem is that he sold like a unique work on like a few unique works on Super Rare, but at the same time put the same works as limited edition on OpenSea. And so people got pissed, right? I mean, if you collect like a like a unique artwork on Super Rare for a lot of money, and then you see like other people who have like literally the same, but like in like, you know, edition of like 30 on OpenSea, well, this is not like a good a good practice, right? Like, I mean, this is something that, you know, like the crypto market is like, crypto community will make you millionaire in one day, but will also destroy you in one day if there's like malpractices like that. So so this is like where yeah, like this is quite um, quite something to be careful about, to be really clear about what you do. But again, I think this is like where you know, like right now the Ethereum market is like booming, right? It's like growing, and this is fine right now, but everything that goes up goes down, right, at one point. So and people will like, Tezos is like, you know, it is much more recent than Ethereum. I mean, Ethereum, like, they've been like people collecting on Super Rare since like 2017. So I think this is like you know, it's in a good place to become much more valuable, and it's actually, you see a lot of price increase already on Hiketnunk. Like, now you have like things like for like a few thousand Tezos, you know, coins that like you did not see even a year or 6 months ago. So
Okay,
yeah.
so thank you very much, Fanny, for these explanations.
Yeah, sorry, it's not like it's not like probably what you wanted to hear, but it's I think it's also like, I mean, it's and again, when I say like you have to find your home and like your collector base, this is not something that, like, when I say that, like, this is not like, oh, like you have to have like 500 different collectors to like actually know what they're expecting. I think this can be like, you know, really building the community around your work, and having like even friends giving you feedback. I mean, you have like the chance to be in a residency where you have like a lot of other artists you can get feedback from, and a few collectors, you know, early collectors who are like supporting your work. Like, this is where you need to get, like, as any other person marketing a product or your work, like, you need to get feedback, and you need to get feedback, you need to adapt, and like and really, you know, be true to yourself, but like still adapt and be on the lookout for things. So so I think this is something that will definitely help. And yeah, like, I think you know, like, Evil is right. Like, this is like it's a very fast pass. I mean, this is something that, like, you know, I can't even remember when Hiketnunk was founded, but it was very not like very long ago. So So yeah, and you know, like this is something on OpenSea that like they're slowly but surely like covering many more blockchains, right? Like, so you see like already like things on Polygon, like, and they've had Hiketnang and Tezos in their pipeline for a while to be shown on OpenSea, but they prioritize like flow over Hiketnang because they did want like all the NBA Top Shot and like all these things to show up on OpenSea. But this is going to be, you know, like coming. I think this is yeah. You mean March for public, like what, like for Tezos Hiketnang to be listed on no, since March. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, so it was only a few months ago. So like you guys are like, you know, you'll be OG in like 1 year. You'll be like the first ones to have been like on Hiketnang. So I think this is we still have to remember that it's so early in the space to do that. One last thing that I will actually leave you with, and as a little like you know, memo for what to think about. I think this is like kind of a cheat sheet on you know, like obviously these are like the steps, but I think this is kind of, if you think about like what you have to do in these steps, I think this is like where it's quite you know, it's when you make it like systematic to like really think about like, okay, you create your words, this is your creative process, but you mint your work, where do you mint your work, how do you mint your work, like really thinking about these steps of like, you know, like kind of documenting everything, then like this will help like to think about that in terms of steps. Sorry, I'm like mumbling blah. And some things that like two things that I wanted to really say, because this is something that I've heard a lot from the first cohort of the residency, is how or like where to give context about the works that you're minting on whatever platform, really. But as I mentioned already, like this is very limited, right? Like if you want to, even on Super, if you want to give like details or tell the story of your work, like this is not the right place, like, right, like this is very limited, and then people do the marketing on you know, Discord or Twitter. But if you spend all your time doing the marketing on Twitter, a tweet, you have to remember, has like a few seconds of lifespan. Like this is something that sorry, did not expect that to be this type of work, but see, like this is where you know, it's great to do like marketing and like highlighting your lots on Twitter, but this is also like where you can literally spend day and night on Twitter to like make people aware of your lots, and then if they're not in front of Twitter at the time you send the tweet, then they're still not going to see it. So some things that I've always recommended to brands, to artists, to anybody really, even individuals, is to really treat your website, like your artist website, as the center of everything. And then, because it has a much longer lifespan on a platform where people can, at their own pace, understand the context of the artworks. And again, going back to like what Kevin Abosch is doing, this is really much like the way he does that is that like the only link he has, I mean, go away from Linktree, and like Linktree is so confusing, honestly. Like it's like it's great because you have so many options to put links to like your different like profiles, but like some artists have like 3 profiles on Hiketnank and like 2 profiles of Foundation and then 1 profile on OpenSea. And as if you don't know that artist or the work, it's very confusing to know where to start. Like it's like, okay, so where should I go? Like what's the difference between these accounts? Like, and the platform is not really made to like really tell the difference. So having this, like, imagine it as a sun, you know, like as a central station of everything, being your own website. And then on the website you can have your different projects, your different like you know, styles, or like everything you do, and give it context, give it some like explain your story, like the story of the work, put a video, a recording of yourself, like anything that like adds to the story of your work. And story is value. Like this is like where, especially for digital art, um, you have to connect with your work and your story. And it's tough because as an artist, you just want to do art sometimes. Like you don't want to talk about it. But this is like, and I know it's painful, but this is very much where you're gonna see the, you know, like the engagement with your work. Another actually website that is kind of well done is Pascal Boyer. He's the guy who did the 16th Chapel Underground and a lot of murals in France, and was paid in Bitcoin. I mean, I'm not saying that because of the type of work that he does, but this is like the website is actually like, you know, it's like, okay, he sells some things other online, but then he has his NFTs project. And then like each project you have pretty much like the link to you know, like to the NFTs, like see like, sorry it's in French, but like the NFTs are available here. And then the here actually like brings you sorry, the link normally goes to OpenSea where he actually sells the work. Like for example here. So he has the work, he can detail the work on his website, and then beam, you want to purchase it, beam, the link is here. And really, if the link is like, if you're connecting with the story, with the artist, honestly, that link could be like any platform. I don't care. I'm following the artist. Like I will want the work. Okay, it's a little expensive for me, but you see my point. This is like something that uh, I hope will also help you focus on like the you know, your time on because it's time consuming. I mean, there's the problem is also there's no secret formula. You know, like it's a lot of consistency and a lot of work as well to put in your story. I mean, you all have like amazing backgrounds, like different backgrounds and different like ways that you came to NFTs. And to me, this is kind of what collectors are interested in, right? Like, I mean, this is so much more exciting to hear about someone who's like a tattoo artist and how they came to do NFTs than like just a painter who was a painter all his life and then like does painting, you know? Like this is kind of um, where I think the value really is. And then one last thing I would say is that, like, I mean, as you can hear, I'm French, but I've been based in the US for 15 years. And something that the Americans do very well is marketing themselves and like turning each little thing into like some great achievement that they've done. And I think sometimes it's too much, but sometimes there's like some wisdom to take from that and to not be shy about like what you're doing. Like you guys are like, you're gonna have your work at an auction or like at the end of the residency, or you are part of the residency. This is big, like put it out there, like put it in your profile, like and brag about it. I think this is something sometimes artists are too shy to vet for their work. So yeah, don't be shy. And I'm gonna actually well, if you have like a few last questions, but I'm gonna actually share that with you. I think, oh, and the last thing is actually just like a few ways to like ask for help, and reaching out to fellow artists, reading the news. Like I put the link like to the resources that I showed you before. Read the manifestos of the collections as well, and so on and so forth. I think this is really where you're gonna be really, don't be shy. Like ask for help, like reach out to other people, ask genuinely what they think about your work, and people will give you feedback. Like if you don't ask, you will not get it. Slides from today. Here we go. Any last questions?
Hi, this is Garrison speaking. I just was interested in your opinion or thoughts on pricing from the start. I know that the old adage in traditional art markets is that if something doesn't sell, that you raise the price. But it seems like in the crypto art world, where a lot of stuff seems to be arbitrary, or even more so arbitrary in terms of pricing than a traditional art world. Um,
Yeah. Well, it's. Oops, sorry.
well, I was just gonna say, like, it seems like there's value in one-to-ones, but there's also value in like giving stuff away for just giving stuff away. But then again, like, where does that necessarily go if you're giving stuff away? Does it
Of
only
course.
make sense to do that if you're going to follow up with it, or what do
Yeah,
you
I
think?
think so. So I mean, it's again, I think this is kind of where it doesn't have to be like the most important decision of your life. Like this is where you can also experiment a little bit, and and what you said, like actually like having kind of a range of prices from like a bit of a higher price for like unique works, and then like lower prices for edition, allow you to reach a broader audience, right? Like because people might be interested in your work, but like they can't afford like the unique work. So like having lower price edition might actually like help you build up your collector base, because and not lose people just because it's too expensive for them. Giving things for free, it's always like you kind of want your work recognized, right? Like you're not just doing like collectibles or like or some things that you've done in like 1 minute, and then devaluing your work is not probably a great idea. If you want to do free things, though, like I think that's like where thinking about rewarding your collectors, and that's interesting. Like nurturing your collector base. So, for example, going back to Kevin Abosch work, like I would really have a look at like how he does like the marketing. Like he does it via merely like a Telegram channel, and it doesn't even have a Discord, but just actually announcing that like he's for his early collectors, or like people who own an NFT from an earlier series, they're gonna have a free NFT from his new series. Like so, he's like rewarding early collectors by giving them access to free things that like new people coming into his collector base will have to pay for. So I think if you want to, like the free things you should like really keep to reward people who've actually already supported you, and then yeah, experimenting with different price point, and wait, I had something else I wanted to say and now I lost it. Uh, Different price point, and yes, and then the last thing is, so like be consistent and be logical, right? Like if you do like there was an artist at one point who was like had a series of 5, and then a series of of 30 and they were both the same price each edition, and you're like, well, but why? Like, it's a much larger edition. They're like, oh yeah, but I prefer this one. That's like not a good argument, you know, like for like different price. Like people will like collectors will do their research, like will compare, will look if you have things on like one platform versus the other, and like compare the prices, etc., etc. So so I think, yeah, like just experimenting and being consistent. And then if you do like your first drop at like 0.2 ETH, and then the next drop is like 20 ETH, or like, you know, like even 2 ETH, like it's not logical, right? Like, I mean, this is kind of where like even if the first one like sells very fast, then yeah, like by all means, like increase the price, but a little bit, you know, like and at all these steps, like for all these decisions, just put yourself in the shoes of how it looks from the collector side, and ask for feedback, you know, like ask for feedback, like to friends, collectors, like people, you know, like this is yeah, people will help. If you have more questions, I'm sorry, I have to run for another meeting, but if you have questions, like tag me in this channel, and then we can or DM me on Discord. Like that's totally fine. And yeah, I hope I did not confuse you more than help. So but yeah, it was a pleasure. All right, I'll quit the disconnect, and have a great day. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, thank
Ciao.
you.
Thank you very much.
No
Thank you
problem.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.